ist Allah. Eure Botschaft ist klar, Al-Anbiya, nur der Tawhid, unser Rabb ist Allah. Eure Botschaft ist klar, Al-Anbiya, nur der Tawhid, unser Rabb ist Allah. Eure Botschaft ist klar, Al-Anbiya, nur der Tawhid, unser Rabb ist Allah.
Welcome everyone, Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's watching, and I'm so grateful to be with you tonight. Thanks for tuning in and joining us to this special live stream. And first of all, I'd like to thank Brother Haroon for giving me this opportunity to be here. And secondly, I'm very grateful to our distinguished and honorable guest, Paul Williams, for joining us. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor to be on your channel. Thank you very much, and I hope your new career as a host on YouTube is a great success.
Thank you very much, inshallah. I must say that being on Kalima TV is one thing, but being on the live stream talking to you is something very special to me, because I've been following your channel for quite a while now, and I've benefited so much from the videos you posted online, and the books you recommended, and the scholars you talked to, especially Dr. Ali Atai. And I really liked his videos on Deuteronomy 18 and Isaiah 42.
Yes.
And the evidence against the crucifixion, and those were amazing videos. And yeah, that's why I would like to urge the audience, everyone who's watching, please go on YouTube and go look for Blogging Theology and support Brother Paul's work and his videos. Subscribe to his channel, like his videos, and share his videos with your friends, your colleagues, and with your neighbors, your family, and yeah, try to help us spread the truth. And inshallah, you will double your subscribers.
Inshallah, it's very kind of you to
you getting.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I'd like to see 1 million subscribers on your YouTube channel. That'd be great.
You're very kind. Thank you very much.
Great. So how's it going? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, in London, England, where the summer seems to have disappeared and it's gone cold. But that's typical of England for you, unfortunately. But I often go to Germany, well, Berlin mainly, and getting to know the city better. So that's very interesting. Yeah, wow. Friends in Germany. So yeah.
Oh, you got friends.
And I was in Munich a few months ago as well, exploring that city. Never been there before, but I go to Berlin about once a month. It tends to be that often. So
wow,
it's very easy to get there from here, just an hour and a half on the plane. So
yeah.
If you come close to Frankfurt, I told you, so you're most welcome.
Yeah, I love to.
Just 1 hour from me,
right.
Close to me. So you're always welcome at my house. So
very kind. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice having you here. Walaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you, and I'm pretty sure the audience really appreciates you coming on. If you don't mind me asking, whenever you're in Berlin, what do you do there?
What do I do where? What do you mean? What do I?
In Berlin.
Oh, what do I do about? I thought you meant what I do in London. Well, I'm there just as a visitor. I already live in France part time, so I can go to the Shangrin area easily. I don't need a visa or any permission. I'm resident in France technically. So I can just pop over there. I don't have to worry about bureaucracy too much. No, I've got friends there, and so I'm just enjoying learning about the history of Germany. Well, not so much the history, but the cultural realities of Germany. Going to mosques there, meeting Muslims, exploring extraordinary life of Germany. You know, the museums, Museum Mile and so on, and it's very different and similar to London. So it's just, I'm just very curious about other places. So I just enjoy exploring it. It's quite easy for me to get there, as I say. So I just pop over there regularly. I'm not going to be, so that's my excuse.
Great, fantastic. And I think I saw a post on your YouTube channel. You were standing in front of, or maybe not in front of, but at the Reichstag.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I had a tour in English. Well, you can have headphones, but a tour of the Reichstag, and that was very interesting. Fantastic views, and I'm aware of its history and so on. So yeah, I hadn't actually been before, so it was good to actually get that done. It was an amazing building.
Oh yeah, indeed. It's okay.
I had to find a suitable passage, by the way, from the Quran, because we thought, what could we say in front of, what could we say? I quoted the Quran in English. What could we say in front of that building that wasn't too provocative, or something that was appropriate? And hopefully, we found something that was appropriate and not to anything. It was just a call for justice in general, without being too provocative. Anyway.
Yeah, agreed. Great. So now that's out of the way, then I think we can start talking about our topic tonight, which is Dawah. And I think Dawah is a very important topic to our Ummah, to every Muslim. Sharing the message of Islam is an obligation. And I've noticed, maybe it's just my subjective view, but I've noticed a significant increase in more Muslims getting involved in Dawah activities in recent times, let's say in the last 10 to 15 years. And yeah, I think it's a good thing that more and more Muslims are trying to convey the message and learn how to, share the message of Islam with their fellow human beings. And it's a great thing to do. So I thought I could start with a question, and I'd like to know your opinion on this. Do you think Dawah has become more important than ever before in these days?
Well, we've got to define what Dawah is, I think. Is Dawah, like we see at Speaker's Corner in London, is Dawah beating your opponent, conquering them, smashing their arguments? Is it trying to win arguments? Is that what Dawah is? Is it polemics? I mean, I asked this question because you get the impression from a lot of Dawah that is what it is. It's about defeating the Christians. Now, I'm not terribly persuaded that's a good definition of Dawah, actually. We see a lot of it online as well. And I've done my fair bit as well, so I'm not trying to be holier than thou. But Dawah is supposed to be, I think, an invitation to follow Islam, to believe in one God, and to follow the last prophet of God, Muhammad, upon whom be peace. Maybe it's also to clear up misconceptions about Islam, about which there are a huge number. So that those are the two, and what I do on blogging Theology is sometimes Dawah. There's not always the focus of it, but sometimes it is. The Quran actually says we're supposed to do it in the best way, with the best manners, with the best adab. We're not supposed to attack. So the thing is, in my view, with some Christians at least, I find it easy to win the argument, but that is, you can lose the person, though. You can easily lose the person, because who likes to be, defeated in argument or shown to be ignorant, or this is not very nice. And so, it's not just about winning arguments, not even about winning arguments, but it's about, to some extent, caring for the person, getting to know what their name is. It may sound basic, but we often don't do that. And showing an interest in them, and also talking to them at an appropriate level as well. So we're not just talking to them as if they're like a wall, like a brick wall. We're meant to be tailoring the message to their age, their gender, their education level, and so on. I think that's really important.
Yeah. You're raising a very good points. I think it was in Surah Nahel, chapter 16, verse 125, where it says, hang on, let me see if I can pull it up.
In time you're searching for it, I want to say there are good points that you said, Paul. I'm glad that you bring it up, because if we today look at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, especially TikTok, where many Muslims making dawah, and like I see, it's only debating. It doesn't follow a route or a real goal. It's just, I want to debate, and I want to show everybody I win this argument. Yeah, I'm winning against the enemy or the Christian debater. Yeah, and I want to push him down. I want to make him kind of like a victim. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. And it's sad, because sometimes it goes hand in hand with bad words, bad behavior, and something like this. And like you said, this is not from the Sunnah. Yeah, I can't remember a hadith where it said that Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is debating someone with bad words or with bad behavior or something like this. Yeah, and this is sad to see. And the next problem is that kind of like social medias like TikTok, they push you because of the viewers. Yeah, so we know it when there's a car accident, the most people are watching but not helping. Yeah. Whoa. And by TikTok, for example, if there's like a fight, a dawah fight, Muslim versus Christian and something like this, yeah, then the people are watching and give roses and something like this, and then this bad or the wrong dawah is getting more and more attracted, because more viewers, more roses, and the host, maybe the Muslim, get more money and something like this, so he feels confident, or he thinks, oh, I get positive recognize, because I have more subscribes, more followers, more viewers, more roses, and it's opposite of the Sunnah from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is something I think we have to rethink. We have to reflect, and we have to go with like kind of like a lamp, to how to say it in English, as a good example. Yeah, we have to go with a lamp like a good example, with a light, and show, hey, dawah doesn't need bad words. I don't have to I don't know,
insult them.
Yeah, insult them, to blame him, to shame him, or something like this. So yeah,
absolutely. You've got the verse up there in English: call to the way of your Lord with wisdom and fair preaching, and argue with them in the best manner possible. And also there's a verse there about finding common ground, a common word between us as well, to believe in one God, and so on. And this is often not the case in Speaker's Corner and online as well, as you say. But also, I think there's another dimension that's often not thought about, and I won't mention names because some of the people I'm thinking of are very well known, but it's not just having the good manners and knowing what dawah is, but also having knowledge. And there's a debate recently, and I'm not going to in any way indicate who it was or anything, because you might where the Muslim in the debate with the Christian was pushing the Christian to prove that the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were written in the 1st century. He said, well, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence that they were written in the 1st century? Now, the question itself is a fair question. How do we know when the Gospels were written? But it is established beyond reasonable doubt, and it has been for a very long time, that the Gospels were written in the 1st century. And it's not really a topic for debate, in my view. We know roughly when they're written, in the second half of the 1st century. And there's lots and lots of really good reasons why we think that, which I won't bore you with. It's not necessary to go into the reasons. But to bring that up as an actual topic to push back against the Christian, you happen to be very educated indeed, was embarrassing, because this is not a thing. We shouldn't be picking a fight over that. It's simply it's a dead issue. No one's arguing the Gospels are written in the 5th century or the 4th century. I mean, it's just the case. But I mentioned that because, I mean, okay, it might be a trivial point, but we need to have solid knowledge of what we're talking about. So we're talking about Christianity. We really have got to have read the Bible. I don't mean a bit here and a bit there. I mean, ideally, the whole thing, the whole New Testament at least. Because we would discover there many, many things that are of interest to Muslims. An awful lot of in the Synoptic Gospels, which is very similar to Islam, for example, and also so that we don't straw man Paul, the Apostle Paul, for example, in his letters, which we sometimes do. Even some Muslim scholars do that. We've got to understand him as he really was and speak the truth about him. Obviously, we may have very negative views about him, but not to straw man him and attribute to him views he never held. For example, I've heard some Muslims say that because Paul no longer followed the Jewish law, we said we don't have to follow the Torah to achieve salvation, that therefore he was an antinomian. He no longer believed in morality. You could do what you like. You could just sin. It didn't matter because God would forgive you. You're a Christian. That's not what Paul taught. At the end of all of his letters, nearly all of his letters, you get these extraordinary, well, not so extraordinary, but you'll get these earnest moral exhortations to be holy, to be good, to be self-controlled, to live a good life. He's not advocating a licentiousness or immorality at all. But the way some Muslims talk about it, you think he is advocating that. And that's to misrepresent his position. So I think to have a good grounding in Christianity, particularly, places like Germany, where the Reformation started with Martin Luther, and the Catholic Church, and all that incredible history, which affected the rest of the world and still does. We've got to understand, who Martin Luther is or was. What did he represent? What was his relationship to the Apostle Paul? Why was he critical of the Catholic Church? What's the Catholic Church done since then? I understand history, not just German history, but the history of the church globally. And that helps to develop a rich and meaningful conversation with Christians, particularly educated Christians. I mean, not all Christians are educated, of course, but I think we need to up our game a bit and become better acquainted with those faiths that we are critiquing or inviting people to leave and embrace Islam from. So, anyway.
Very well said. Yeah, indeed. And yeah, as we can read, it says that wisdom and kind advice or good counsel and debating in the best manner are crucial requirements for us to give dawah, and that, of course, involves Islamic ethics. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Love for humanity what you love for yourself," and that includes appropriate language, being gentle to people, showing patience, being affectionate, employ lenience in particular, and have empathy. And as you said before, we need to adapt or tailor our style of dawah to the addressee. And we mustn't forget that we are not converting people, we're just inviting them. And I think that sometimes gets lost in debates or discussions. Well, probably it's because Corona as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, absolutely right. But it's not just having the right adab; it's having the knowledge and having the right and as you say, when we don't convert people, God says that in the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad upon his peace. It's not his job to convert people. That's God. God will change hearts according to His wisdom, according to His will. So that takes the pressure off a bit. I think we don't have to worry too much about the outcome because it's not our job anyway. It's up to God to change people's hearts, as I say. So our role is more limited, I think.
Indeed it is. And all the prophets used to invite the people. That was their job. That was their main job. And I mean, our prophet, peace be upon him, he was called the one who invites, the caller to Allah, or the caller of Allah.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, the first duty of every prophet that came before him. And if we want to follow in the footsteps of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then of course we need to follow his example and do as he did. I mean, if I remember correctly, he went to, and now we're already talking about types of dawah. I mean, street dawah is probably the most well-known form of dawah that people will associate with calling people to Islam. But this is also the most, I would say, the most prophetic approach or methodology that our Prophet, peace be upon him, himself went to those marketplaces and to the Kaaba, and he prayed in public and he talked to people. So I guess that's why street dawah, or having a presence out there, is important, and it's following in the footsteps of our Prophet, peace be upon him.
Absolutely.
And and there's also a hadith which is very important. It's it was narrated that even if you just know one thing, one sentence, or one line, one verse, then we should convey it. But of course, we can't just remain, let's say, ignorant in inverted commas. Having no knowledge at all doesn't really work. We have to gain more knowledge as we grow, as we progress, and it is our duty to learn about the Quran, about our own religion, not just about the other religions. That is, of course, an important part of our dawah. But you need to know about both sides, and you should be able to. You can't be a hypocrite. I mean, you can't say things or convey things to people which you have not that much knowledge of. And so we should try to be a role model, and to not just talk the talk, but to walk the walk. And that's indeed very crucial. And I was thinking about, since we were on the topic of different types of dawah. I remember Hamza, what's his family name? Sortzes? Sortzes? Yeah. I'm very bad at names, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing. So, Hamza, if you're watching this by any chance, I apologize for.
You pronounced it fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Right. He said that there are like two types of dawah. One is active and one is passive. And the active ones, of course, when we get into conversation with people. And passive, the dawah, is when we're being asked questions. And he said something very interesting, how to respond to the questioners. He said that most of the common misconceptions about Islam, there are thousands of ways how to answer it, and we can rationalize it in many ways, using secular knowledge or religious knowledge, or using reasoning. And but he said something interesting, which was we should always try to link it back to Islam, meaning that we we can answer, we can rationalize, we can justify an action, a practice, an action of our faith with logic. But if we don't mention that this is because of our religion, because of the Quran, because of our Prophet, peace upon him, and because of Allah, then it might actually happen that the questioner comes up with more questions, and he just keeps, or she just keeps asking and asking, and ad infinitum, and it never ends. So if people understand the concept of Islam, then we can start to try to explain things in a way that is comprehensive. And that's why we should always, like, if someone was asking about, I would say most common misconception is maybe the headscarf, or things about equality, about inheritance, or why you're wearing a beard, then we should ask them, do you have some minutes? Can I explain the concept of Islam? And then we could rationalize it. What do you think about Hamza's words?
Yeah, no, it's good. Hamza is a very brilliant teacher, and he's very good on Dawah. Actually, I've benefited hugely from what he says, and I think maybe Dawah might be slightly different in Germany than in Britain. I don't know. I mean, the issues of the beard, from the hijab, for example, which you mentioned, are not really issues. Certainly not in London. I mean, so many. I think most men in general wear beards in London, and the hijab is part of life. People wear them in schools and universities and hospitals. It's simply not an issue. But that is not the case, I understand, in continental Europe, unfortunately, where things are much more restrictive. So we don't really need to explain it ordinarily at all. It's simply not an issue. But it's an issue in Germany, is it, for Dawah?
Yeah, it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Try not to be rude about Germany, but it's extraordinary. It should be an issue at all in what is called a free society. Be very enlightened and sophisticated and cultured. Yeah. Well, I mean, the hijab thing is not that I ever talk about it really, because it's not an issue, but in the UK, but well, at least as far as I can see. But in a lot of Catholic art, in art galleries up and down everywhere, you'll see the Virgin Mary portrayed wearing a hijab. She nearly is always wearing a hijab, and this is in Catholic art. So this is, and she's very holy. She's very modest. She embodies modesty, humility. She embodies Islamic values, basically of submission to God. So it's there in our culture too, in our Western artistic culture, to see Mary as perhaps the greatest woman who's ever lived. The Quran says that. The Catholic Church says that. We all agree on that. And how does she dress? Was she oppressed? Was she abused by her husband Joseph? Well, of course not. No one's suggested that. So she is a model, a role model for Christian women traditionally. But it's an argument I've not had with people here for years. It just doesn't.
It never comes up.
Comes up. No. There are other issues that come up, but not that one. And the beard thing never comes up because it's very fashionable now. Trying to remember, it is in Germany, but anyway, I don't really know so much difference. But it's very fashionable for men in Britain anyway to wear beards. So not everyone, but a lot do. So there's no Islamic kind of issue about it because it's generally it's very fashionable. Now that's obviously not why we wear a beard, but it's not in any way marked out as odd or peculiar.
Yeah. I remember someone asking you someone who's surprised that you were Muslim, and you said, "Oh, I need to grow my beard for next time to be recognized by people." And that was at Speakers Corner. And yeah, I mean, in Germany, it's it has become normal to have not a beard, to look shaved, and that's the beauty standard of men. Maybe in the 2010s, during the hipster era, it changed a little bit, but it's still quite the norm that men don't really want to grow a beard, and women are, let's say, more attracted to men who are shaved.
Really? It's different.
Yeah.
It's a purely cultural thing. A purely cultural thing, I must say.
Yeah.
The Emir, the moderator, Walaikum Assalam. Yeah, we met in Leicester. It was the National Dawah Convention, as it was called, in England, organised by IERA, massive international Dawah organisation. And we were invited. I was invited to talk, and many people. Hamza Zorsis was there, of course, and it was a great success. And this was the first one, actually, the first time there'd been a national convention. It was a very American conference, I think is what we call it, but they called it a convention in the UK. So inshallah, this will become an annual event. It was very well. It was sold out, absolutely packed in a big hotel in Leicester, which is in the middle of England, and. So hopefully very much this will continue on an annual basis, actually. It's very good.
Yeah, hopefully it will. It will. And yeah, just one last point about the beard. I mean, my family is from China, and for Chinese people, it's also a little bit weird if you wear a beard. And my mom keeps telling me, like, you can wear a beard, you can grow a beard when you're older and when you're like 60, 70 or 80, but they still don't really understand that, you know, it's our duty to or it's sunnah to wear a beard, to grow a beard.
Yeah.
And
I think I would hope that Europeans in general, and this is where the right-left political divide is interesting, because you know there is such a thing as a masculinity. It's not just a cultural product. It's not purely a cultural social construct. It has roots in biology. It's how we're created. God says this in the Quran. We created our species male and female, and so men and women are male and female are different, and we're different by design. And so our Western tendency to minimize the differences, or even see men and women as somehow the same, apart from bits and pieces, you know, it is profoundly against the natural order and against the theological understanding of our nature, I think. But there is a very positive way of stressing the masculinity of men, and the beard is a great way of stressing the masculinity. And this is something that people perhaps in some parts of the world need to rediscover. This is part of the glory of a man, is to have a beard, and the glory of a woman is to be feminine, and the two together have a complementary relationship by design. This is how God blesses. This is blessed by God, and that's where children come from, and so on. So this is all, you know, part of the natural order as designed by God, and you know, we should celebrate it and affirm it. And if we've lost that because of certain secular currents, secular movements, which you know, in Berlin it's very extreme, I've noticed, but I've learned that Berlin does not represent the rest of Germany any more than New York represents the rest of the United States. New York is very different from most of, say, the American South. Need I?
Yeah.
So there are these differences, but no, I think the West needs to relearn the great value and beauty of masculinity and femininity as distinct expressions of our human nature, and that we are different. Men and women are different, and this may be a heresy, of course, to many secular feminists, but I really couldn't care less if they think it's a heresy, because they're just so out of date and so contrary to what most of the planet knows is common sense. You know, it's a very kind of bizarre kind of movement that just goes against the grain. It goes against who we are as human beings. So I have no doubt that this will come back. This affirmation of masculinity, affirmation of femininity. And the reason I'm going on about this is because this is what Islam emphasizes. It emphasizes these things. It's not shy in saying men are men and women are women. You know, it's not shy about talking about our different roles in life. You know, a woman's role as a mother, as a provider, as a carer and nurturer for her children. You know, this is natural, and human beings have always known this, apart from quite recently. We're going to have to relearn this again, I think. I mean, not everyone's lost this, but there there are certain movements in the West that kind of despise that and think that men and women are just interchangeable, that there's no difference between them, and this is profoundly unnatural and contrary to human flourishing and human happiness and human civilization. So I've no doubt the fitra, another Islamic term in the Quran, the fitra, this natural human disposition, will resurface with each generation. You know, the way things should be, despite the best intentions of some people to destroy it, unfortunately.
Yeah, God willing. Without getting too political, I mean, you mentioned the left and right divide, but it's quite ironic that you find some people on the right, or let's call them right, whose values would actually match with some of our values, and it's and then if you look at the left or far left, or I mean, it's quite loaded, you know, these terms like left, right. But let's just use them. And then you have those people, you mentioned those movements, and those movements are, well, primarily on the left, and they're trying to, well, shove their agenda through our mouths, and it's pretty ironic. Then we actually share a lot with those who don't like Islam, who want us out, and then there are those people who are defending us, but they don't like our religion. They just want us to be here and to be more diverse. And but it's actually quite ironic. Yeah.
Well, this whole left-right division, as you know, came about at the French Revolution, 1789, where the new regime, the French government, after the revolution, split between those who were on the left-hand side of the speaker, whatever his name was, and those sat on the right. And the people on the left, the people on the right supported the monarchy, and the people on the left supported more radical, whatever. So this whole language of left and right was born in 1789 after the French Revolution. And I'm stressing that because it's not our language. It's not the language of Islam. The French Revolution has nothing to do with Islam. But nevertheless, these are the categories that those of us who live in the West have to deal with. And you're right, there are some very key right-wing policies and attitudes which we agree with, but there are also some very key ones on the left that we agree with. So we are both. We're not actually right or left. We have our own independent stance. And I remember when I was a Christian, when I was a Catholic, I felt exactly the same way, because Catholic teaching, say on LGBT and marriage and whatnot, is traditionally right-wing, and abortion, so to speak. But it's social teaching on workers' rights, for example, and so on, is quite left-wing. But the Catholic Church isn't right-wing or left-wing. It just has its own trajectory, its own tradition, which has gone on for thousands of years. And it just happens to be at some point it aligns with the right and some with the left. And I think this is similar with Islam as well, actually. So we're neither right or left, or we're both, or whatever.
Yeah, who knows? But enough politics.
Well, something wanted me. I'm not going to be speaking any German. No. Whoa. This is not going to work for me. I you see, the cliche is for us English, terrible, ignorant British people. we the German we're brought up with is the German from the Second World War movies, American movies. So we learn all these expressions, which I'm not going to repeat because they're deeply offensive, about certain events and certain individuals. That's where we. And that's all we. But hopefully, one's German is more than that. But we get fed this diet of stuff from the past. But no, I recognize more German than I don't speak any German really, apart from say thank you or hello or whatever. But I don't at the moment. I'm not trying to learn German because my priority is to learn Arabic, for example, and I just don't have time to learn lots of language, and French because I live there. But sometimes so it's not a priority. And the thing is, as you know, if you go to Berlin, everyone speaks English anyway, and you try and speak in English to someone, and they in German to someone, and they'll say and they'll start speaking to you in English. I mean, they actually make it difficult to speak German in the German capital. I mean, I've seen this lots of times, so I just give up. I just speak English because everyone else speaks English to me.
That's true. It's become so anglicized and Americanized. It's you have children. I mean, I used to work in a school, and I had some children who were just who were not even 15 years old, and their English was so good, and they just learned English from watching YouTube or TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, it's amazing how quickly they learn. And yeah, but it's great. I mean, there's so many great books to read about religion and comparative religion in English. So I would advise everyone to improve your English and read those books, because not every book is available in German.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I think we digressed a little bit. Yeah. So, oh yeah, true. Hang on a second. Yeah. So I was thinking about different approaches of Dawah, and I don't know if you know the YouTube channel called Way of Life SQ. He's from America. He was raised in the Bronx, and he was also interviewed by First Pillar. And he has got an interesting approach. He's a very sociable person, and I mean, since he was raised in the Bronx, he uses the slang. He's a quite funny guy, and he's still quite young. But he said something which, quite frankly, made me think heavily about this. And he was saying that he was trying to talk to people on a personal level, and he was trying to emphasize the solution, or a solution-oriented or based approach as far as Islam is concerned. So he was trying to figure out what problems these people had, personal problems, financial problems, family problems, and then he was trying to relate those problems to the solution that Islam offers. And I mean, frankly, Islam offers the solution for every problem in the world. And I think Dr. Zakir Naik also made a video on this. But yeah, that's an interesting way of showing Islam to people by not really talking about theology and stuff, but bringing it more to this practical level, and how can Islam help you, which might actually attract people to Islam much more efficiently. And
these are all valid ways. I mean, helping people with their problems and so on is not necessarily Dawah as such, but or at least not directly, but it's certainly similar to it, I suppose. But no, all of these, all of these are valid. I'm not knocking them. I just think we also need this is an adjunct to Dawah, not necessarily Dawah itself, but we do need to develop ways of understanding the West, not just Germany, but the whole Western tradition, intellectually, historically, its religion, and so on, in a way that doesn't strawman it, that does not ridiculing it and just putting it down, understanding it, but also then bringing an Islamic perspective, Islamic critique of it, actually. Now, this may be more controversial in some places than others. Maybe it's controversial in Germany. I don't know. Probably is. Everything is controversial.
Or in France.
But it's less controversial in other places. But developing a sophisticated, intellectually robust critique of the West. But again, I'm not talking about attacking it. I'm talking about critiquing it, but understanding it in its own terms as well. It helps us also to have and to draw on our own tradition, the Islamic tradition, which is an incredibly rich resource. If you think of the great thinkers, which are perennial, still very influential and helpful today, Al-Ghazali, or you prefer Ibn Taymiyyah, or many other scholars, philosophers, theologians, thinkers, sociologists, mathematicians, and so on. It's an extraordinary tradition, and which still has much to teach us, I think, about how to live in this world. And so, it's one of my passions is to be involved in developing for intellectual formation for younger Muslims, people who are becoming scholars or going to university to study, how they are to understand what the West is about. For example, how are we to understand the historical critical method? There's something that Yasir Qadhi, Sheikh Dr. Yasir Qadhi from Texas in America, he recently made some comments about the historical critical method, which proved very controversial in some circles. Now, I'm not going to comment on the rights and wrongs of what he said, but he did focus on a very important point, which is the historical critical method and the way the assumptions it has and the way that it views, say, the question of hadith, the historicity of hadith, for example, and compare that with the Islamic perspective of the isnad system, matin, the very sophisticated hadith criticism that has been developed over the centuries. It's really important we understand the differences between the two, actually, the HCM and the Islamic perspective. Why? Because if we're not going to be able to have a defense or a reason to believe in Bukhari, a Muslim, for example, if we don't understand why Bukhari is so important and the brilliant work that he did in giving us very reliable Sahih hadiths. Because a lot of the HCM, the historical critical method, the practitioners in the West, in Germany and America and Britain, are very skeptical about that, about the whole thing. But they're coming from a different place. They're not coming from the same paradigm we are. And this whole issue is really interesting and important that we come to terms with and understand in some depth. And there are excellent resources, unfortunately, only in English. I don't know if they're in German, but people like Professor Jonathan Brown, his work on Hadith, who's got a PhD in Hadith from University of Chicago, Yasir Qadhi's own work, of course, and many other scholars have spoken very intelligently and with great knowledge about this in English. I keep on coming back to that, but and so we should educate ourselves, and this helps us in our conversations with our fellow citizens in the West.
Yeah. And with regards to the history, I feel like that a lot of the many things of the Muslim history has been erased in the West, and many non-Muslims or Christians or atheists don't really know about the contributions Muslims made throughout history, and that without the advancement of or the inventions of Muslim scientists and scholars, the Enlightenment wouldn't even have happened. So I think it's quite sad that this history has been somehow oppressed or erased. But I mean, the more that's probably the most fascinating part. A lot of people are interested in history, but they just know about the Western history and that they're being taught in school, especially in Germany. We learn so much about the Second World War and First World War, but when it comes to other cultures, other regions of the world, it's just, well, maybe 1%. It's not really worth it. But
I noticed that lack of, well, I'm not sure it was lack of knowledge or not, when your current or former German foreign minister, is a female, a woman, I don't know if she's in her job, met the president of the new head of Syria, and she when they first met, it was on camera, it was in the news. She extended her hand to shake his hand, and he, as a good Muslim, didn't shake her hand, of course. And the way the German press, Deutsche Welle, which I read, it responded to this was quite extraordinary, as if some great offence had happened, some scandal had happened, and it hadn't, because any basic knowledge of Muslims and how we relate between men and women would have informed us that this is not a practice we do, and she would have known that. I think, being German foreign minister, you're a diplomat, you're supposed to know these things. It would have been a massive failure if she hadn't. So I assume she did know. So therefore, I can only conclude she was making a political point. But that's disrespectful, because for to bring to mention the Jewish people, hesitate to do that, but Orthodox Jews have exactly the same understanding of the relationship between men and women. Men do not shake the hands of women and vice versa. Not because women are inferior, it's because it's to do with boundaries, it's to do with modesty, it's to do with not physically touching someone you're not, you're not related to. There's a different logic, a different kind of ethos involved, which is very humane and respectful to women and to men. And it's so basic to Islam, to the ethics of Islam. And I think many people in the West would appreciate it, actually, and maybe even like it if they understood it correctly, as it really is. Instead of the way the German press that I read, treating it as some kind of sexist. It was just awful the way it was treated. And there's no excuse for that, because the knowledge is there. It's easy to find out what Muslims think these days with the internet, so there's no excuse for ignorance, particularly if you're a diplomat. And so, we need to, and I think the reason why many people in the West don't know this is because they don't want to know, because in somehow they feel superior. And why should we learn about these other people's habits? It's a kind of patronizing, supremacist, white supremacist attitude that is beneath our dignity to actually bother to learn about the habits of these people, i.e. Muslims. But when it comes to other groups like Jewish people, they will learn it, but they won't learn it when it comes to Muslims, because somehow it's the prejudice is so horrible. They just don't want to bother to learn. And that's a terrible attitude to have, because Muslims are now over 2 billion people on the planet. It's over a quarter of humanity, and it's the fastest growing religion on earth. And it's due to overtake Christianity in a matter of years now. We need to learn about Muslims and Islam if there's to be peace and coexistence in the world. It's not rocket science. It's easy to do. Muslims will tell you why they do things, if you ask. And it's all for the good of social harmony, social cohesion, coexistence that we understand, rather than having these ridiculous headlines that I saw in even the state media in Germany, which fail completely to understand what was going on. And I just thought there's no excuse for this.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry to be a political.
Yeah, about this.
But what can we do? We're talking about doing Dawah in the West. Part of Dawah, in my view, is to deal with misconceptions and try and share knowledge and education. So this is actually part of Dawah. Well, why don't we shake the hands of women we're not related to? And look at the response we've had. The way the media treat Muslims. So it's inevitably political because we're politicized. It's not because it is political, but it's made into a political football by press that is hostile to us.
Yeah. And to your point about supremacy, I mean, if let's say a Muslim behaves in a way that Western people would approve of, then if we don't link it back to Islam, as I said before, then people will start thinking, oh look, this like in inverted commas savage person came to us, he adopted our values, our norms, our morals, and we civilized them, or him or her, and he adapted to our standard, and we are the reason why he's behaving that way. But I mean, if that's why I think it's so important to link it back to Islam all the time and say, look, I'm not doing this because of you. You didn't teach me that, but I mean, you shouldn't say that, but but you should always say, look, it's got to do with my religion, and let's talk about it, and let's understand the concept, and then you might understand why we do certain things and why we don't do certain things. Otherwise it's just this white supremacist thinking that the West is superior to the brown man.
This is true, and I've seen this so many times, and this is part of the hubris, the arrogance of the West. And I'm not saying the West is the only group or civilization that's been arrogant. There've been arrogant ones in the past, other peoples, but at the moment the West is very supremacist in its attitude towards people who don't see the world the way that we do in the West, whether it be Palestine, Israel, or Muslims and so on. And it's so supremacist that actually shuts down, prohibits discussion. And we see this in a very extreme form in Germany and in France and so on, much less so here in the UK, although there are issues. It's not nearly as bad at all here. It's curious there is that difference. Very odd. In the United States, they have the Constitution of the United States, and they have protected free speech, which does protect people to some extent from state victimization. So the West is quite different in different places. So some places are worse than others, but nevertheless, there is overall a supremacist attitude, which goes against what the West claims to be. It claims to believe in equality, freedom, human dignity, and so on. And indeed, it does say that, and maybe people believe that, but they say that with one corner of the mouth, but at the other corner of the mouth, they will then say that, in effect, that we are better than you. You must become like us because we are superior, in effect, in whatever way they cater. And sometimes that's rooted in ethnicity or biology. We see this with the rise of certain parties in your country, Alternative for Germany, whatever it's called, in Germany, which some of it is racial, some of it isn't, or whatever. But and we see that rising in Britain too. But anyway, I'm waffling now. But Dawah is inevitably political, controversial, because it touches raw nerves. If you defend the hijab in France, you're immediately going to be, a socially. I mean, it's very, very controversial. I have no idea why it's controversial, but it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, true. Did you see the Jubilee episode with Mehdi Hassan with those 20 so-called conservatives?
Well,
I mean,
stroke fascists, stroke Nazis, stroke. Some of them call themselves that. It was amazing.
Frank supporter.
Fantastic thing he did, Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to, not trying to talk about Palestine too much, but when it comes to this issue, it's you have some people in MAGA, and even in the show in Jubilee, you had people who knew about this and who were against the oppression and the genocide and so on. And but then on the other hand, you had this guy who said, like, where you come from and I want you gone, right? And he said this to Mehdi, and it's weird. I mean, it's same like if you watch Tucker Carlson, he invited what's her name, Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, and they finally, like, it seems like, and you also have people like Candace Owens on the right and other people, and they can actually finally agree on. They cannot agree on economic issues or I don't know, social issues and about taxes and so on, and immigration. But when it comes to Gaza, it's suddenly, like a miracle that right and the left are coming together. But I guess this is not really about. They don't really care about the people there. It's more about a sovereignty issue and about feeling let down, I guess. So it's not really about I actually care about them. But it's still surprising to see that you have got so many voices on different sides on the same page. And now let's try to bring this back to Dawah, and this is actually a great point. So when we start with, I mean, I've noticed that.
Sorry, there's someone at the door. Can I just come back to you in just 1 minute? Can you just give me a second? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, right.
to deal with something. The host has unmuted your mic.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just had to deal with something.
No problem.
What were you saying about Dawah?
No worries.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. So let's bring this back to Dawah. But I've seen in recent times, let's say in the last 18 or 20 months, that there are so many non-Muslims suddenly getting interested in learning about Islam because of what's happening. Well, what has been happening in the last 18 to 20 months. And I mean, this is some extraordinary form of Dawah. I mean, it's not really verbal, it's not really communicative, but it's actually a non-verbal form of Dawah. And people are really getting engaged with this. And of course, there are some people who do this for political reasons, but you see so much, well, videos and coverage on this on social media, and people, well, I mean, people are surprised by the steadfastness and by the faith, because I think in Europe, or in the Western world at least, you wouldn't have this if the war was here, or if something equally was happening right now here in Western Europe, then I guess people wouldn't be able to stand maybe just for a week, and they would probably then give up on life and see no hope anymore. But it's yeah, I thought this was a perfect example of giving Dawah without actually talking to the people. And I think we can also learn from this, because it's not just, we don't necessarily have to talk to them. We can show how beautiful Islam is by our actions. And it might actually just be, I don't know, let's say we're praying in public and someone looks at us and he's wondering, oh, why is he praying on this mat in public? And then you've actually made him become interested in Islam, and the person starts thinking about it. And that's also a form of Dawah, giving Dawah to people. And I've actually never given much thought about this, but I've realized that sometimes you can have a huge impact by not really speaking to people, but by actually just doing and acting and going and doing the things that you do usually at home, at work, in your community. And yeah, you don't necessarily have to talk to people about Islam that much. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. There are many ways that we can communicate what it is to be Muslim, or the values that we live by our actions, of course. It can be counterproductive, however. I'm thinking at Speaker's Corner, when Muslims used to pray there, to pray Salah, that is, and that caused quite a backlash from some right-wing people, right-wing Christians. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, though. It was just there was a backlash, so it's not always a positive reaction. But no, I agree. Being Muslim, behaving in a Muslim way, obviously is can have a profound impact on other people as well. And I think that there is, particularly in the younger generation, I'm told, who are much less skeptical and atheist than their parents. At least it's true in the UK anyway. There's a renewed interest in faith. Actually, it's the complete opposite of what's supposed to be happening. We're supposed to be becoming an ever more secular society, has become more scientific, so to speak, and so on. But actually, the 18 to 24-year-olds are actually rebelling against that kind of atheist attitude. Not rebelling against science, but against atheism of their elder people. And so I think we're in for an interesting future, actually. And that will mean, I think it is, some people are saying, we're seeing now Christianity in the West finally having turned the corner, they say, and becoming more popular again, having been in decline for many, many generations, for a century or two. Now, whether or not this is long lasting and endures, or it's just a fluke, who knows? Time will tell. But I suspect it's part of a wider movement away from capitalism, secularism, individualism to more better eternal values that actually are much more conducive to human happiness. And I think that there's a reaction against all that was promised in the West having failed us, really. That we can live in a secular world, and it will give us answers to problems. It hasn't really. It's just created further problems, whether it be climate change or the disintegration of society or whatever. So many things.
Yeah. In a way, the secular liberal societies or the governments have actually caused their own problems, and they've actually furthered the support, the rise of religious interest or religions. And I noticed the same thing, same trend in Germany, that whenever I'm outside, standing on the streets, on the stand, and we're just handing out pamphlets or little booklets, and there are much more younger people, I would say, from the age of maybe 16 to 29, 30, which who are more approachable, who like the message, and we're more open-minded about Islam and about a comparison between the religion they grew up in, usually Christianity, and then it resonates with them. And there's a book. Hang on, let me see if I can. I've put this in the slide. This one, this book by Abu Zakaria. This book has resonated the most with Christians, and it's written in such a warm and welcoming and eloquent manner.
Is it in German as well?
Yeah, it's in German as well. I mean, this is the English one. But we have lots of German versions of this book, and great one. It's a great one. I think Hamza also made a video on this 8 years ago. He presented this book, and I would say, if you're a Muslim and you've got Christian friends, get this book and give it to your friends. No one's really gonna feel offended, or if they're a Christian, they're not gonna feel that anyone's attacking your religion. This has been written so well. So that's why, or any Christian out there watching this, get this book. You can come to us or to any other stand and get it for free. So it's
no, indeed. I'm not actually read it. I know who the author is, but I'm not read it myself. But
yeah. Unfortunately, we only have German copies. I haven't. I don't know where to get this one in English. I wish I had it in English.
Well, IERA, it's an IERA. They're a British Dawah group, so you can just contact IERA online, and that you can order it through them. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Cool. IERA is based in London, so.
I was actually planning to go to London in September, because I also wanted to be at Speaker's Corner, because I wanted to see it with my own eyes.
Oh dear, yes. It's an awful place, a dreadful place.
I'm
a complete addict, unfortunately. I go there regularly, but I don't recommend anyone else does. It's very toxic. I mean, you can have good discussions; they are possible, but more often than not, it's a terrible place to be avoided.
So do you live near Hyde Park or Speaker's Corner?
Yeah, my local park. So
okay.
Walk down the road. That's my excuse. I'm like a junkie who can't say no. So it's only 20 minutes walk down the road. So I just find myself, despite myself, walking in that direction and end up there on a Sunday. And then come away disgusted with myself afterwards, that having put up with this appalling rubbish. No, there are some good Muslims down there. You get Mansur, Hashim, of course, and there are a number of other brothers. And there's some very, very nasty Christians who are basically crusaders who want to destroy. And they're just very intolerant. They don't talk to you. They just, and it's awful. But there are one or two. No, I do know one Christian down there who's a decent person. Actually, he's probably the only one there.
Yeah. I was told that Speaker's Corner was different than today. Can you tell us? I mean, that Speaker's Corner was more about. It wasn't that much about hot debating. It was more. I mean, I was. I was just.
Yeah, it used to be a long time ago. It used to be more about, you used to have very famous preachers or speakers who used to get up on a soapbox and give speeches and so on, and you could heckle them. This was fine, but no one gets up on a soapbox ever now. It's just and now it's largely, well, I say no one, very, very rare, but mostly it's now debates between Muslims and Christians, because the demographics have changed in London, and also in that area, it's quite an Arab area in terms of a lot of people go there from the Middle East for holidays. So you get a lot of tourists from, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or wherever, and they like to go there because they've seen the videos on YouTube, which are often translated into Arabic as well. So it's become a global phenomenon. It truly has, actually. So it's not just the 100 or 200, 300 people who go there. It's millions who are aware of it now. You've never been to.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there are some really nasty people, and I've seen a clip of yours where you were debating what's his name, Jay Smith. You were. That was how many years ago? 8 years ago or 7 years ago?
Which one was that?
It was when he said that Muslims were preventing him from eating ham.
Yeah. No, that was very funny. That was very funny. Yeah, he's still very active. He's gone back to America, thank God. But he lived here for quite some time, and I bumped into him in the British Museum about a month ago, and he was very friendly. We had a photograph taken, and I put it on X. A lot of people complain, "Why are you having a photograph taken with this terrible human being?" Okay. Yeah, no, he was saying, because he's very Islamophobic, he was saying, Muslims are stopping me, because he used to live in London, stopping me from eating or buying pork in my local shops. He lived in an area of London called Harrow, northwest London, and I thought, this is a lot of rubbish. So I decided, he said that one week. So then I thought, well, I'm actually going to, I don't normally do this, but I thought I'm actually going to ring up supermarkets in the area. I mean, they're well-known supermarkets like Tesco's or Sainsbury's and things. So I actually rang them up. It's very embarrassing. And I just said, do you sell ham? I made up some pork product. And of course they said, yes, we have a wide range of ham or whatever in Tesco's in Harrow. Now, I knew they'd say this because the idea of huge parts of London not having any pork product is absurd. I mean, it's just like unthinkable. Yeah. The whole country would know about it. It would be an uproar. So clearly what he was saying was rubbish. But I wanted to do this check simply so I could then, when I saw him the following Sunday, tell him I'd done this to shame him. So this is all filmed, as you say. And I called him out and said, you're lying. I called Tesco's on Harrow Row, whatever, and they have a full range of blah, blah, blah. And he just stood there grinning, smiling or grinning like an idiot that he is. And afterwards he told people that he was just joking. He was just joking. It was just a joke. And I thought, you don't make jokes like that about vulnerable minorities in Britain. If you lie about them like that, particularly when there's so many Muslim haters around, you're adding fuel to the fire of Muslim hatred. You know, it's like making jokes about Jews. Oh, it's just a joke. Yeah, right. We all know what happened there, don't we? So we've got to be careful what we say. And he wasn't careful, and he didn't care because he's a white Christian American. You know, he is at the top of the tree in terms of the pecking order in America. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to be careful. He can spout rubbish because who cares? You know, I mean, he's a white Christian American. You know, but for those of us who do care about the effect of those words, it matters. So I think it's important to call him out. Particularly, he was being dangerously toxic, and for people who saw that on YouTube around the world, and they did. They might have believed him because most people haven't been to London. Maybe it's true that the Muslims have taken over and we're stopping people eating pork. I mean, so it's not true. It never has been. It never will be true, because Muslims don't stop Christians eating pork. The Sharia says that. The Sharia says that Christians can eat pork. They can drink alcohol. This is protected in the Sharia, as they are a protected group in Islamic society, for example. So this isn't a liberal policy or a kindness. It's actually divine law. They are allowed to do this. They're allowed to go to church and do what they do in church according to the Islamic law. So this whole, he was wrong on so many levels, but what he was doing was potentially dangerous in misinforming people who didn't know any better. So that's why I got involved. And I made fun of him as well towards the end, I think. He's just appalling, really.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're always going to have these trolls or hate preachers. I mean, I've recently seen Zishan talking to one of these hate preachers who was holding a flag which was colonized by another flag. I think you know what I mean. And he was asking them, why's your flag colonized? It's really weird. And then of course you had these people coming from America over to Speaker's Corner, and this guy called Avery, right? And he had he debated Libiano, the Orthodox Muslim. It's GOD logic. And he came over with his bodyguards and with his fan base. And then you had Brother Adnan talking to this bodyguard, and he said he was a crusader. And then, okay, let's talk about crusade. I mean, Brother Adnan did his dissertation in the crusade, so and then he just ran away. And would you say is it actually worth engaging with these people, or just ignoring them would be better?
I don't know. I mean, Adnan Rashid is a very powerful speaker, and and very knowledgeable. So if the whole thing has been filmed and shown on YouTube, then it can be a benefit to the viewers to see how someone who's very good at responding to these things, what they say and what the kind of answers that can be given. But often it's a waste of time, actually. So it depends who's dealing with it. If they're very effective and can give a good reply. Otherwise, no. So
but you mentioned that you also had some positive experience, and let's not try to talk about negative experiences too much. But can you tell us about maybe a positive experience you had at Speaker's Corner? Positive?
I have, but they're usually away from the cameras, because the trouble is, when I start talking to someone, people often come up, the various camera crews, they come up and put microphones on and start filming pretty quickly, and that changes the whole dynamic, because then I'm aware that I'm, speaking to unknown people online. But if one can have a conversation, get away with a conversation that's not been filmed, then and with someone who's respectful, then you can have very interesting conversations. And I've been a number of them over the years, but they're a minority, unfortunately. As I say, it's generally an awful place, Speaker's Corner. But so one has to look hard to find the decent things. But that's what we go there. This is the holy grail of Dawah, which is a decent conversation in Hyde Park. Very sad.
That's actually sorry.
No, I'm going to have to. I've got to actually upload a video on my channel shortly, and my producer's waiting for me to respond to a title for it. So I'm going to have to go shortly, unfortunately, because it's meant to go up this evening on my channel on VT.
Oh, okay, right.
So I'm just having to say that I might have to leave shortly. But so what was your question? Yeah, so that's it all depends, really.
Yeah, I mean, my question was, has anyone converted to Islam because of the conversations they had with you? Did anyone come to you and said no?
Absolutely never. Never happened. And it never will happen. Speaker's Corner is a magnet for missionaries, for atheists, for the mentally ill, and people like that. At Speaker's Corner, no. In other things, yes. Through blogging Theology, for example, yes, but not at Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner is awful. and it's very rare that anyone becomes a Muslim at Speaker's Corner. Actually, it does happen once in a blue moon, very rare. But there are Dawah tables not too far from Hyde Park, up in Edgware Road and East London, Stratford, and so on. Where often the same people go, and there are a lot of people who become Muslim there. So it's the environment. But if you're dealing with the general public, who are generally nice people, then you can have a sincere conversation, and shahadas do happen a lot. But at Speaker's Corner, it's particularly toxic, and normal people don't tend to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the brother Yusuf, who's at Stratford, and his way of speaking, his way of conversations, holding conversations is just beautiful. I think. He's very calm. He's very,
lots of conversions happening in London, all over the place. The one place that just doesn't happen is at Speaker's Corner. Well, it has happened, I'm told, but it's like such a long time ago that I can't even remember when it was.
Yeah.
Like 100 years ago or something. But around London on the Dawah tables, an awful lot of conversions happen. A huge, all the time. It's an ongoing extraordinary story.
Yeah. How many minutes do you still have, roughly?
It's just a couple more minutes, so I'm feeling rather guilty because, as I say, I've got to talk to my producer. But it's until half past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because I thought, since we're talking about Dawah, we could. I thought I could confront you with some of the most common objections that non-Muslims come up with, and you try to, answer them in just a few sentences, if that's okay.
Oh gosh, okay.
I know it's probably impossible to do that, but or maybe you can just
depends on the subject.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you can tell us how you would try to convince them that their perception is wrong, and what they could do to learn about this and relearn this, unlearn this misconception. So I was thinking, and maybe those who are in the chat, those who are watching, maybe get a notepad and get a pen or ballpoint and take some notes.
I shouldn't bother. Anyway, hit me with the questions.
Right. So let's take the problem of theodicy.
What is the problem of theodicy?
So if an atheist says, "Well, I can't believe in God because of the problem of evil," how would you answer that?
An atheist believes there's a problem of evil.
Yeah.
Atheists don't believe in good or evil. It's like Stephen Fry, the British comedian, once was he's an atheist. He was once interviewed and about what would happen if one day you died and woke up and found that you were face to face with God. What would you say to God? And he said, well, I would ask about all the evil in the world. And I'm thinking, but you don't believe in evil. You don't believe that there is a supernatural good and evil. You believe in a universe without meaning, without purpose, without anything. It's just brute facts that don't. So why is this even a problem for you? So there isn't. But Islamically, of course, there's an assumption here that if God exists, this world would be beautiful and harmonious. There'd be no suffering, no pain, nothing like that. But that's not the purpose of existence, according to Islam. According to the Quran, of course, we are here. Life is a test. It's a trial. Our time here is brief. Our lifespan is short. And we're here to face certain challenges and trials and tests. There's a purpose to life. It is to seek out the one God, to worship him alone and not without partners, and so on. And to think about the next life. Because the next life is always very close, whether we realize it or not. And in the next life, any injustices or wrongdoing that we are victims of, or that we do to others, will be rectified in the next life. There'll be a day of judgment where the people will be rewarded for their good behavior and condemned for their evil behavior. So there is ultimately an accountability and accounting for wrongdoing and injustice. There is justice at the end of the day. But the atheists can't have that because they deny the very premise of it. They deny eternal life. They deny God. They deny right and wrong. They deny all these things, which are the basic facts of existence. So for them, it is a problem. But in Islam, it's not. And the Quran does speak about this quite a lot, about the kind of things we will face in the Quran is very realistic about what human life is like, and it's not the assumption that the atheist has that it must be all rosy if God exists. That's not the reality. That's very naive and childlike.
Yeah, very beautiful answer. Okay, I think we can get one more. Okay, so let's see. What if someone doesn't have a problem with religion, but that person has a problem with let's say institutional religion because of the experiences they had, and they say, okay, look, a church belongs to Christianity, to this institutional organization.
Yeah.
So does a mosque to Islam, and a synagogue to Judaism, and so on, temple to Hinduism. I don't really like the idea of institutional religion, so why should I join Islam? And how is it different to the institutional religion of other faiths?
Well, good question. Islam isn't like Christianity or Judaism in that sense. So in Islam, there's no clergy, there's no hierarchy. We don't have a pope. We don't have some super supreme ruler who is we all bow down to and obey. It doesn't exist in Islam. So it's very different. So in Catholicism, of course, you do have a hierarchy with priests, and many priests sadly have abused their trust by sexually abusing children. This is unfortunately all over the world, but that doesn't happen. Well, there's no clergy in Islam. There are mosques, but they're not like churches. Mosques are simply buildings where people gather together, say on a Friday, to pray. It's just a building. It's not some kind of special holy place that a priest goes to and you have to. It's simply not like that. It's very different. So in Islam, it's yourself and God. You are directly accountable to God. You don't go through priests. You don't go through. God doesn't have a son, doesn't have a mother like Mary, the mother of God. You go directly to God. You're accountable to him for your actions. And the imam in a mosque is often misunderstood in the West. An imam in Sunni Islam, 90% of the world's Muslims are Sunni Muslims. An imam is simply a prayer leader. And you could be an imam. I could be an imam if we know enough Arabic. We should really know Arabic, really. We should know the Quran, particularly. We should be able to recite the Quran. Why? Because that's what we recite in our prayers. If you can't do that, then you can't lead the prayers. But you don't have to be ordained or anything at all. You just got to be a respected member of the community who can recite the Quran in Arabic. And that makes you the imam. So, isn't that amazing? So you could be the imam and I could be the imam, literally. Now, in practice, there are people who are religiously trained. They're not clergy, but they are kind of scholars, perhaps, who may be specially trained at places like Al-Azhar in Egypt or whatever. You know, who are trained in Sharia, trained Islamic law, trained in this, that, and the other. But they're not clergy, and they're not intermediaries, and they're not part of an institution. So this institution doesn't exist in Islam.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we've got 1 minute and 15 seconds left.
Squeeze one more in if you want.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe I can ask you this question since we are on the German YouTube channel, and since our viewers are primarily German Muslims or from Germany. Do you have any recommendations, tips, advices for German Muslims how to, I mean, from your experience, do you have any advice for them?
No, well, it's not my place to give advice to Germans. So there's a joke there somewhere. But I would say that that we all need to develop ties with each other. In German Muslims, British Muslims, French Muslims, American Muslims, and Muslims in the Middle East and Malaysia and Indonesia and wherever. We need to be more in touch with each other, and that involves certain language issues, if we can. Maybe English can be the medium for that. I don't know. And learn good practice from each other. So there's lots of things that people can learn. There's some amazing Dawah guys in the UK. I don't know why there's so many good ones in Britain. There just are. But you mentioned Hamza Zortzes, for example. That make contacts with people, connections, visit countries. So come to London, go to conferences, invite us over to Germany. And invite us over so that we can talk to you and you can talk to us and we can learn from you and you can learn from us. So building networking is what I'm trying to say, because we are one family, actually, theologically speaking, and so we should really be visiting each other a bit more. So learn things from us and we can learn things from you. And so I think that was one thing I would like to see more of. Actually, yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's a great point to end with. I think we really need to connect with our brothers and sisters worldwide, and yeah, it's true. I mean, I wouldn't recommend going to London for Speakers Corner, but
No.
Yeah, we should meet our brothers and sisters and we should go to Britain or to.
Yeah.
I mean, Britain is like the epicenter of Dawah, or
yeah. It is. I'm not quite sure why, but I think it probably is. And I mean, like we just had this national Dawah convention in Leicester. Come along to events like that. Stay for several days. Network, meet people, attend workshops, lectures, talks, give talks. Tell us about your experiences, and that way we can build up sort of brotherhood and sisterhood.
Yeah.
Across these artificial nation state things, because the nation state will not survive, but the Ummah will survive, and I think that would be really good.
Amen. Or Amin.
Amin. Yeah.
Amin. Yeah. I mean, this is why we're having this conversation. It's great. It's great that we are able to communicate and to talk it was a great honor for me to talk to you, and I'm always happy to talk to you again if you don't mind, and I would like to continue this conversation, and maybe we can have a part 2 of this Dawah talk, or about something else. And we really need to build bridges and come together, and that's, I guess, the main message of tonight.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Yeah.
I think that's a good message. It's not a threatening message to anyone. It's so networking is good. So, well, thank you very much, Steve, for having me on. It's been a great pleasure, great honor, and inshallah we can do it again. And hopefully we can meet in real life if you come to London in the future. We can build these connections between German Muslims and British Muslims, and Muslims in fraternity and education and knowledge and assistance.
Yeah, inshallah. And so I think I'm gonna be in London in the first 2 weeks of September, and I know that you're gonna be in Dallas at the end of this month.
You know about that, because I was just thinking, Dallas and then Chicago for a few days at the beginning of the month. So I should be back in the UK 3rd or 4th of September or something.
Oh, okay, that's great. Then I'll let you know if I get to London, and I'm gonna let you know. Yeah.
Inshallah. Great stuff. All right, thank you very much for your time. I'll see you then. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Goodbye.